What's happening YouTube, and welcome back to Fudge Muppet. My name is Michael and today I'll be taking you through our latest build, the Wet Fang. For everyone in the comments who knows what the Gekromancer is and wants one, this is as close as you're going to get. So the guy who came up with the Gekromancer, this is for you. Now if the build gets 1,000 likes in one day, we'll make a guide on how to make the face. It is pretty simple however, and also be sure to leave a like if you do actually like it anyway. Now the Wet Fang comes straight out of Elder Scrolls lore. They are a tribe of vampires from Blackmarsh, known to be more civilized than any of the other vampire factions. They also can keep victims in a trance and feed on them as they desire. The Wet Fang originated from the Blackwood region of Cyrodiil and has been around for 900 years. He's obsessed with necromancy and keeping the dead immortal, and he was quite the problem for the citizens of Leyawiin. It wasn't often, but every now and then people around the area would be picked off. They'd go missing and the Wet Fang would take them to his hideout and place them in a magic-induced coma. He would feed off them gradually and experiment on them with dark magic. With the issue becoming well known by the people of the city, the Leyawiin court wizard was entrusted to create a plan of defense. He devised a way to suppress vampirism with a mixture, and it became more a plan of attack. This concoction would have the arrows of the guards dipped into it, and it could not cure or destroy vampirism, no, but it could suppress it for a very long time. They were to capture the vampire without the threat of his powers, however the creature escaped and fled north. Temporarily trapped with the powers and appearance of a mortal, the Wet Fang wanted to find a way to get his vampirism back, and so he hit the books hard. In libraries he would read about the Standing Stones of Skyrim and their potential powers. He read about the Ritual Stone and its dark properties and headed to Skyrim to find it. He was of course captured on the border. When he escapes, he will go and find the Ritual Stone, and by then he will have heard about vampire attacks and immediately follow them up and do the Dawnguard DLC. People of course couldn't tell he was a vampire until now. He's bitten by Harkon, and the mix of Volkihar blood with his own Wet Fang blood reawakens his vampirism. He learns some new powers and benefits from his new mix of blood, such as being a vampire lord. The gear for the Wet Fang includes black robes, Azadal's boots, Mirak's sword and Mirak's staff. As you can see, the character won't be wearing a helmet or gauntlets. Basically a lot will be coming from the Dragonborn DLC, which you should do straight after the Dawnguard DLC, and up until this point we recommend using a bound sword to have good damage and to help train conjuration. Bound swords can be used later on too to capture souls. The Wet Fang will also be wearing a ring and a necklace. The skills for the Wet Fang are one-handed, conjuration, restoration and enchanting. One-handed will be used to wield Mirak's sword, and the combination of the sword and staff has been chosen to get that really swampy aesthetic that everyone keeps asking for, and to give that green dark feel a Blackmarsh vampire should simply have. The combination of the two together is also just a very powerful mix in battle. The restoration skill of course will be used to give our vampire here the Necromage perk, and this will allow him to fight alongside his reanimations and heal them extremely well. So because the Wet Fang is a vampire, the Necromage perk becomes very useful. Mixed with the regeneration perk and the Sailor's Repose effect that you get from Frostflow Lighthouse, you're gonna end up with a total of 85% bonus magnitude to your Heal Undead spell. This drastically changes what was 75 points of Heal Undead to a whopping 140. Necromage will also buffer all the Wet Fang's other active effects. Because this build is a vampire, Necromage also allows Dead Thrall to reanimate targets beyond level 50 and makes Ritual Stone targets to be raised past level 75. Enchanting will of course be used for the ring and necklace we mentioned, with the effects Fortify One-Handed and Fortify Conjuration. Now, the Conjuration skill is a main skill and will not only be used for bound swords at the start or when you don't want to waste Mirak's sword charge, but also for necromancy. The Wet Fang is able to raise the undead to fight alongside it, as I mentioned, and also he can use Atronachs. We suggest using a Seeker to fit in with the theme as well. All the perks you will need can be found in the description as usual. Remember, after you follow the link to actually click the perks tab to find the perks. The Wet Fang's playstyle involves entering battle using only magic. He will look for dead enemies on the floor and then reanimate them. If there are no creatures to reanimate, he will summon Atronachs and then proceed to take out his staff and sword. The sword can be Miraak's sword, or you can summon a bound sword if you want to charge the Black Star, which you will need by doing Azura's quest. The souls you trap will be used to recharge Miraak's sword and Miraak's staff. Remember to spray around the staff to hit the most amount of enemies, but also to be conservative where your Thralls and Atronachs can do the work for you. You will also be dual wielding Heal Undead to keep your Thralls easily alive. Remember to use all your vampire abilities you have, such as Vampire Seduction, to trap enemies in a trance to feed upon. In terms of a stat spread, the Wet Fang will have 40% Magicka, 40% health, and 20% stamina. Magicka will allow you to cast reanimation spells and use bound swords and Atronachs all the time, and you won't need a ridiculous amount because you'll be using your staff often. The health will obviously be to stay alive, and the stamina to power attack with your sword. As for the stone being used, we're actually not using the Lord Stone, as we mentioned, we're using the Ritual Stone. So the Ritual Stone will let you raise all the undead around you simultaneously once per day, and fits in with the necromancy theme perfectly. As I said, Magicka will also be used for your restoration to heal all the things you reanimate. And that wraps up this week's build, the Wet Fang. Thank you for watching, and remember that the perk link and the links to our awesome social media pages are in the description below. Be sure to visit our channel to watch our Fallout builds if you're a Fallout fan, and also to check out our Let's Plays of both Skyrim and Oblivion. My name is Michael, show your friends the Wet Fang, and I'll see you next time.